The night sky above Velith Prime pulsed with red warning lights. Sirens echoed through the great chamber of the Galactic Council. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in curved rows, their voices a storm of fear and confusion. The council chamber was massive, a hall of crystal arches and flowing banners that once symbolized peace. Tonight, the banners hung limp under the dim emergency lamps. The air itself felt heavy, thick with despair. At the center podium stood Ambassador Kathra, her tall frame trembling. Her body was crystalline, glowing faintly blue like living glass. She had lived 3 centuries. She had witnessed wars, famines, and disasters, but never this. "Fellow members of the council," she began, her voice echoing, "we have lost another system. The Helix colonies fell yesterday. That makes 12 worlds in 4 months. The chamber erupted with gasps and cries. Feathered Kiorans fluffed their wings in panic. Tentacled Arathians wrapped their limbs around themselves for comfort. The rock-skinned Krillians struck their stony fists against desks in rage. The name on every delegate's lips was the same. The Zahirian Empire. They were the unstoppable storm. Their fleets adapted to every weapon. Their soldiers never broke. They advanced without fear, without mercy, and stripped conquered worlds down to ash and silence. General Voxar, a giant Krillian with scarred stone skin, rose from his seat. His deep voice rumbled like an earthquake. "We have tried everything. Our greatest fleets, our sharpest plans, our most advanced weapons, and still the Zahirians devour us. Their war machines learn too fast." Dr. Yilshaw, the science advisor, blinked her huge round eyes rapidly as she added, "Every time we strike with energy weapons, they develop new shields. When we use kinetics, they grow armor. When we hide in stealth, they upgrade their sensors. It is as if every blow makes them stronger." Panic filled the chamber. Some shouted for retreat to the core worlds. Others demanded impossible peace talks with an enemy who had never once spared a world. Ambassador Kathra raised her glowing hand for silence. "There is one option left," she said softly. A hush fell across the hall. "The Deep Space Protocol." Gasps echoed. Whispers spread like wildfire. Even the council leader's silver fur bristled in alarm. "You cannot be serious," Council Leader Morden growled. "That signal was never meant to be used. We have no idea who or what might answer. They could be worse than the Zahirians." Kathra's crystalline face hardened. "How could they be worse? The Zahirians will burn every world. At least the unknown may help us." General Voxar slammed his fist down. The crystal desk cracked under the blow. "I would rather fight with strangers than die watching our homes burn." After hours of bitter argument, the vote was called. By the narrowest of margins, the chamber approved. Technicians moved quickly, activating massive communication arrays older than the council itself. Ancient machines, built 1,000 years ago, hummed to life. Their curved dishes turned toward the void, preparing to fling a desperate plea into the dark between stars. Kathra stood with General Voxar and Dr. Yilshaw as the final sequence began. "What if no one comes?" whispered Delegate Harvin, his tentacles curling tight. "Then we fight alone until the end," Voxar growled. "But if someone comes, we pray they are friendly." The transmission began at midnight Velith Prime Standard Time. A simple message, stripped of politics, stripped of pride. "Ancient species of the galaxy seek aid. Great threat approaches, coordinates attached, come if you can." The signal raced faster than light, fleeing into the endless night. What the Council did not know was that far away, orbiting an ordinary yellow star, the signal would find a strange blue planet. Earth Luna Station. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the darkened observation deck, staring at Earth, the blue marble shining below the moon's gray soil. At 42, he had spent most of his life in uniform, first as a Marine, then as an officer in humanity's young space force. He was tired, battle-worn, and scarred by wars fought over Earth's dwindling resources, but he knew desperation when he saw it. The alien message glowed on the screen beside him. He had read it a dozen times. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of entire civilizations. "Ancient species of the galaxy seek aid. Great threat approaches, coordinates attached, come if you can." Lieutenant Kelly Walsh, his communications officer, entered with a thick folder. She was young, sharp, and exhausted, but her eyes gleamed with excitement. "Sir, linguistics finished the full analysis. It's real. A galactic council under attack by something called the Zahirian Empire, and they're losing. Morrison's jaw tightened. How far? 2,000 light years, beyond anything we can reach with safe tech, but Walsh hesitated. The prototype ships, the Defiance, is ready. Morrison smiled grimly. Humanity had only discovered faster-than-light travel 3 years ago. It was unstable, risky, and terrifying, but it worked. "Get me a secure line to Earth Command," he said. "Earth Command, secure call." General Patricia Cooper's weathered face filled the hollow screen. "Jake, please tell me you're not thinking what I think you're thinking." "They asked for help, General," Morrison said. "That's all I need to know." Cooper scowled. "We don't know these aliens. Their enemies might be worse. This could be suicide." "With respect, ma'am, we know one thing: they're desperate. Desperate enough to scream into the void. That sounds familiar." For a long moment, Cooper said nothing. Morrison could see her remembering her own battles, the times when allies had come from nowhere to turn defeat into survival. Finally, she sighed. "What do you need?" "The Defiance, a volunteer crew, and permission to make first contact." Cooper shook her head. "That ship carries 12 people at most. Against empires, you'd be outnumbered 1,000 to 1. "Sometimes 12 is enough," Morrison replied. Departure. 2 weeks later, the United Earth ship Defiance lifted from Luna's surface. Its black hull gleamed with experimental armor. Its engines burned with dangerous new power. Morrison's crew was small but chosen carefully. Commander Ryan Stone, sharp and calm under pressure. Chief Engineer Paula Martinez, who had practically built the ship herself. Dr. Alex Turner, medic and scientist, tough as nails. Lieutenant Kelly Walsh, the translator, the voice of first contact. 8 more volunteers filled the stations of navigation, weapons, and life support. All had signed on knowing they might never return. Morrison gave his final words before they jumped. "We don't know what's out there. We don't know if we'll come back, but someone asked for help. And when someone asks, humanity answers." The Defiance's engines roared, tearing a hole into faster-than-light space. Earth faded behind them. The unknown awaited. 47 days later, Velith system. Alarms screamed the moment the Defiance dropped out of faster-than-light travel. "Multiple contacts," Walsh reported. 30 ships in defensive formation around the 4th planet, and 6 hostiles holding position opposite them. Morrison studied the tactical display. 2 fleets locked in standoff, one curved, elegant, almost artistic, the other sharp, angular, aggressive. "Their enemies?" Morrison asked. "Zahirians, most likely," Commander Stone replied. The bridge filled with tension. They had arrived in the middle of a war zone. "Do we cloak?" Martinez asked. Morrison shook his head. "No, we came to help. Take us toward the defensive fleet. Weapons cold, shields hot. Let's hope they don't shoot us first." The human warship cut through the void, a single fragile thread moving between giants. Alien sensors tracked them. Weapons turned. The air on the bridge felt like ice. "Sir," Walsh whispered, "I'm receiving something. Prime numbers, mathematical constants. They're trying to communicate." Morrison nodded. "Answer them. Tell them humanity understands." Slowly, painfully, the two sides built a simple mathematical language. Numbers, equations, basic truths of physics. Step by step, a bridge was built. Finally, the alien fleet transmitted coordinates and an invitation. Walsh's voice trembled as she translated. "They want us to dock with their flagship." Morrison leaned back in his chair. He could feel his crew holding their breath. "All right," he said, "let's meet our new friends." The docking clamps of the alien flagship locked onto the Defiance. The human crew stood tense at their stations as the docking bay swallowed them. From the bridge window, Captain Jake Morrison watched the bay reshape itself. The walls were liquid crystal, flowing and bending until the chamber fit the human ship perfectly. Chief Engineer Paula Martinez muttered, "That's impossible. No material should move like that." "Get used to impossible," Morrison said quietly. "We're living it now." The airlock cycled. Lights flickered green. Readings showed the alien bay held breathable atmosphere, lighter gravity, slightly warmer than Earth normal. "Suit up," Morrison ordered. "Dress uniforms only. We're here as diplomats, not soldiers." Commander Ryan Stone, Dr. Alex Turner and Lieutenant Kelly Walsh joined him. Martinez remained aboard the Defiance, watching their backs. Each officer checked their sidearms, not because they planned to use them, but because they knew better than to walk unarmed into the unknown. The inner door hissed open. First contact. The humans stepped out into a world of glass and light. Dozens of aliens waited in a semicircle. They were tall, thin, their bodies crystalline and glowing with inner luminescence. Their movements were slow, deliberate, graceful, as if they feared breaking themselves. Their eyes were large, multifaceted, catching every glimmer. Their voices, when they spoke, rang like music across metal. One alien stepped forward. Her glow was brighter than the others, her body cut in elegant angles. She radiated authority. Walsh activated the translator she had spent sleepless weeks coding. The device struggled, then spoke in English with a soft, musical tone. Greetings, beings from the unknown regions. I am Ambassador Kathra of the Alteran Republic. We did not expect anyone to answer our call. Morrison took a step forward, spine straight, voice steady. I am Captain Jake Morrison, United Earth Ship Defiance. We heard your message. We came to help. A ripple passed through the alien crowd, voices overlapping, crystalline hands raising. Their glowing forms shifted in agitation. You came from Earth? Kathra asked, eyes wide. We have no record of such a system. How far did you travel? 2,000 light years, Morrison answered. The reaction was immediate. Several aliens recoiled as if struck. Others whispered in their musical tones. 2,000, Kathra whispered. That would place your world beyond the outer darkness, beyond mapped stars. How is this possible? Commander Stone crossed his arms. We developed faster-than-light travel recently. It's new, it's dangerous, but it works. Dr. Turner scanned the aliens with a handheld device. His brow furrowed. Captain, their biology, it's silicon-based. Their bodies are crystalline, not carbon. That explains the glow. Several aliens stiffened, watching the scanner nervously. Kathra tilted her head. What is that tool? A medical scanner, Turner explained quickly. I'm a doctor. I wanted to make sure we don't make each other sick. The aliens exchanged confused looks. One asked softly, You worry about our health when you do not even know us. Turner gave a small smile. That's what doctors do. The situation. Kathra led them deeper into the ship. The corridors pulsed with living light, walls resonating faintly like a heartbeat. The humans felt like intruders walking through a cathedral. They entered a war room where crystal panels floated in the air, showing maps of fleets and worlds. The displays glowed with tactical data. There they met General Voxar, the massive rock-skinned alien whose voice had thundered through the council chamber weeks ago. Beside him stood Dr. Yilsha, her enormous eyes blinking rapidly as streams of data scrolled past. The Zahirian Empire, Kathra explained, is unlike any enemy we have faced. They adapt to every weapon, every strategy. No matter what we do, they learn to counter it. Voxar rumbled, We are losing, 12 worlds gone, millions dead. Soon they will reach Velith Prime itself. Morrison studied the tactical displays. Alien fleets arranged in perfect symmetrical patterns. Lines of defense layered like textbook diagrams. Beautiful, organized, and predictable. Your strategies are precise, Morrison observed. Of course, Voxar said. Order and precision are the essence of military success. Stone smirked faintly at Morrison. Both men had fought wars where order had meant nothing. What kind of world do these Zahirians come from? Turner asked. Dr. Yilshaw blinked rapidly. Zephyria is a paradise, managed climate, perfect ecosystems, no natural disasters. And your home worlds? Morrison asked. Kathra lifted her crystalline chin. The same. Altera Prime is paradise, whether controlled, no hunger, no storms, no quakes. Morrison exchanged glances with his crew. He saw the realization dawn. These aliens had never faced chaos. They had never lived through disaster. Their worlds were safe, ordered, tame. Captain Morrison spoke slowly. Ambassador, may I tell you about Earth? Kathra inclined her glowing head. Earth is what you would call a hostile environment. We have storms that wipe out cities, earthquakes that rip continents, volcanoes that can change the climate for years, ice ages that come and go. Our planet tries to kill us every day, but we survived. The aliens stared at him in silence. Horror flickered across their crystalline faces. "And you thrived?" Voxar asked, his rumbling voice filled with disbelief. "More than thrived," Turner said. "Every disaster made us tougher, every challenge forced us to adapt." Walsh added softly, "We learned to fight, not for pride, not for conquest, for survival." Kathra whispered almost to herself, "You come from a death world." Morrison did not correct her. A new approach. For 3 days, the humans studied the war. They listened to reports of Zahirian attacks. They watched battle simulations. The truth was clear. The aliens were fighting honorably, predictably, and dying for it. "These battle plans," Stone said, tapping a glowing projection, "are works of art. Too bad wars aren't won by art." Turner shook his head at medical reports. "Their soldiers are biomechanical hybrids, implants connected to a central command network. Every time you fight, they learn instantly. That's how they adapt so fast." Walsh intercepted transmissions. The Zahirian voices were cold, metallic, stripped of emotion. They spoke of conquest as though it were arithmetic. Morrison finally spoke to the council leaders. "You're fighting like gentlemen, they're fighting like machines. You'll never win that way." Voxar's rocky brow furrowed. "You suggest we abandon order, that we fight without rules, that is, uncivilized." Stone laughed once harshly. "Civilization is what's killing you." Dr. Yilshaw blinked rapidly. "But without rules, war becomes chaos. Innocents suffer." "Innocents already suffer," Morrison snapped. His voice echoed through the chamber. "How many millions have died while you clung to rules? How many worlds have burned while you fought honorably?" Silence, the question cut deep. Finally, Walsh spoke up. "We found a weakness. The Zahirian command network needs constant communication. If we disrupt it, not destroy, but flood it with chaos, their advantage turns into confusion." Morrison turned to Voxar. "General, I need volunteer crews. We'll test new tactics against a patrol." Kathra's crystalline glow dimmed with unease. "What tactics?" "The kind your academies would never approve," Morrison said. "We're going to ambush them." The ambush, an asteroid field near the edge of Zahirian territory, became the battleground. The small fleet of modified council ships hid among the rocks. Their elegant hulls were now crude with steel plating Martinez had bolted on. Their precise energy weapons had been swapped for rapid-fire kinetic cannons. The alien crews were horrified by the changes, but the humans reminded them survival was not about beauty. Morrison's voice carried across comms. "Remember, we're not here to fight fair. We're here to win, hit them where they don't expect it, use methods they've never seen." The Zahirian patrol arrived. 6 ships in perfect diamond formation, scanning with cold precision. "They're beautiful," one alien whispered. "They're dead," Stone replied grimly. Morrison gave the order. Council ships opened fire from concealment. Hundreds of projectiles tore through space. The Zahirians, adaptive shields built to counter perfect energy beams, faltered under the storm of unpredictable kinetics. At the same time, Walsh unleashed her virus. Captured Zahirian code twisted into chaos. Their communication network filled with false commands, random numbers, the sound of thunder, the roar of volcanoes, the madness of Earth itself. The Zahirian formation shattered. Ships veered in random directions, colliding, firing blindly. Their soldiers, connected to the broken network, staggered under feedback. Minutes later, 3 ships burned. 2 more drifted helplessly. Only one limped away into the void. Not a single council ship was lost. On the bridge of the Defiance, General Voxar's voice rumbled through comms. "Incredible, we destroyed an entire patrol without losing anyone." Turner added, "More important, we proved their adaptation can be broken. They tried to adapt to chaos, and it only made them weaker." Kathra's crystalline eyes glowed bright with wonder and fear. "Captain Morrison, what kind of species fights like this?" Morrison looked at her steadily. "The kind that learned on a death world." The news spread through Velith Prime like wildfire. The Zahirians knew. The patrol the humans had destroyed had transmitted before it died. Now an entire fleet, larger than any yet seen, was on its way. In the council chamber, panic erupted. Delegates shouted over one another. Some demanded immediate evacuation. Others cried for more defensive lines. A few whispered about surrender. Ambassador Caithra stood silent at the center, her crystalline glow dimmed with dread. She could feel the despair building like a storm. Then Captain Jake Morrison slammed his hand on the podium. Enough. The chamber fell silent, the human's voice cut through like steel. You've been losing because you fight the enemy's war. You follow their rules, their order, their predictability. That ends now. You called us for help. This is what help looks like. We fight on our terms. General Voxar rose beside him. His rocky body towered over the chamber, scarred and unbreakable. I have seen what these humans can do, he rumbled. I stood beside them when they shattered a Zahirian patrol in minutes. If they say there is a way, I will follow it. The council was divided, but fear of extinction outweighed fear of change. By narrow vote again, they approved Morrison's command of a joint fleet. Preparing the trap. In the war room, holographic stars glowed above the humans and aliens. The Zahirians will come straight here, Morrison said. They'll expect your fleets in perfect formation, defending Velith Prime in neat layers. They'll plan for it, and they'll crush you like always. So what do you suggest? Caithra asked carefully. Morrison leaned forward. His eyes were hard, his voice low. We don't give them what they expect. We give them chaos. Martinez outlined the modifications. Energy weapons swapped for rapid-fire cannons, shields reinforced with crude steel plating, elegant targeting systems replaced with flood-fire barrages. It looks wasteful, Dr. Yilshaw protested. Exactly, Martinez said with a grin. Efficiency is predictable, chaos is not. Walsh explained her next upgrade. We've refined the virus. Last time we flooded their network with random noise. This time we'll overload it with Earth itself. What do you mean? Caithra asked. Walsh tapped her console. The room filled with thunder, lightning, crashing waves, howling wind. The sounds of a world that never rested. These are natural disasters, Turner explained. On Earth they happen all the time. To us it's life. To the Zahirians it will be madness. Stone crossed his arms. We'll hit them where they don't expect it. No formations, no honor, ambushes, feints, dirty tricks. They've never fought like that. They won't know how. Voxar nodded, his rocky jaw set. Then let us prepare. The Zahirian fleet arrives. 50 Zahirian warships emerged from faster-than-light space like blades cutting into reality. Their hulls gleamed dark and angular, built for intimidation. Their formations were perfect diamonds, every ship locked to its neighbor in flawless precision. On the flagship, Admiral Zethal surveyed the battlefield. His enhanced soldiers moved with machine-like grace, implants glowing under their skin. All ships, his second-in-command announced, report ready for combat. Enemy defensive fleet detected. Their positions match standard patterns, predictable as always. Zethal's lips curled in satisfaction. Then this battle will end as all the others have. Begin the assault. The Zahirian fleet advanced. But the Council fleet did not respond as expected. Instead of layered lines, the ships broke apart, scattering in all directions. Some dived toward asteroid fields, others skimmed the planet's upper atmosphere. A few simply fled into the void. Zethal frowned. This makes no sense. Admiral, his officer said uncertainly, their formations are gone. Their movement patterns do not align with probability models. Then pursue and destroy. Do not let them regroup. The Zahirian fleet split into hunting packs, and that was when the humans struck. The first strike. From asteroid shadows, modified ships erupted with storms of projectiles. Kinetic rounds slammed into Zahirian shields, overloading them with sheer volume. From the planet's magnetosphere, ships rose like predators, firing from impossible angles. From the void itself, hidden vessels launched surprise barrages, striking engines and communication arrays. The Zahirians staggered, their perfect formations broke. Walsh activated the virus. Earth's chaos poured into their command network, thunder, volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes. The implants of Zahirian soldiers flickered as their enhanced minds tried to process madness. On the Defiance, Morrison barked orders. Don't fight clean, don't fight fair, hit them where it hurts. Stone led a strike group, slingshotting around a moon to ram straight into a cruiser's blind spot. Martinez pushed her engines to the edge, dragging a line of mines through the debris field, detonating them like a chain of falling stars. Voxar himself commanded a council battleship, his deep voice roaring over comms as he crashed through Zahirian lines like a stone avalanche. For the first time in history, the Zahirian fleet faltered. Inside the flagship, Dr. Turner led a boarding party, their target, the command nexus of a Zahirian cruiser. The corridors were sterile, angular, pulsing with artificial light. Zahirian soldiers, enhanced with biomechanical implants, moved like machines, their faces cold, their eyes glowing. But they had never faced fighters like humans. Turner's team cut gravity in one corridor, overloading it in another. They triggered fire suppression systems, filled vents with static noise, hacked lights into strobe chaos. The enhanced soldiers stumbled, disoriented. Their implants had no defense against unpredictability. "Move," Turner shouted, his voice echoed in the dark. "We hit their comms array." They reached the nexus, a crystalline node thrumming with data. Instead of trying to destroy it, Turner placed Walsh's device against it. "Broadcasting," he said. The nexus screamed with the sound of Earth, crashing waves, screeching winds, cracking ice. The Zahirian network convulsed. Soldiers clutched their heads, their implants sparking. On the battlefield, Zahirian ships began firing wildly, some colliding with each other, others spinning out of control. The turning point. Admiral Zethal gripped his command chair as chaos spread. His officers twitched, their implants overloading with contradictory input. "What is happening?" he roared. "Unknown interference," his technician cried. "The data has no pattern, no logic, our systems cannot adapt." Zethal's fury burned. "Then adapt yourselves, fight through it." But it was too late. His perfect fleet was unraveling. Council ships swarmed like predators sensing blood. Voxar's battleship smashed through a cruiser. Stone's strike team crippled another. The Defiance itself cut across the flank, its guns blazing. For the first time in living memory, Zahirians were losing. The cost, but chaos cut both ways. In the asteroid field, a Council frigate failed to pull out of a collision course. It slammed into a rock and detonated, killing thousands. Stone's strike team lost 2 ships to friendly fire when Council gunners, unused to chaotic battle, struck allies by mistake. Even the Defiance shook violently as return fire tore across its hull. Alarms screamed. Sparks flew. Martinez yelled over comms, "Shields at 30%. We can't take another hit like that." Morrison gritted his teeth. Victory was within reach, but the cost was rising fast. "Stay on them," he roared. "If we break them here, we buy time for everyone else." The battle raged on, brutal and unrelenting. Cliffhanger ending, Part 3. Then Walsh's voice cracked over the bridge. "Captain, new contacts, a lot of them. I'm reading another Zahirian fleet, twice this size, dropping out of FTL now." On the tactical display, dozens more angular warships flared into existence, their weapons already hot. The humans and Council fleet, battered and bloodied, stared down overwhelming reinforcements. Morrison's jaw clenched. His voice was grim but steady. Round 2. The stars lit with fresh war. The second Zahirian fleet dropped from faster-than-light space like a storm of knives. On the Defiance's bridge, alarms screamed. Walsh's trembling voice cut through the chaos. New arrivals confirmed, 50 more ships, twice the size of the first fleet. Captain were outnumbered 3-1. The tactical display blazed red with hostile markers. Around them, Council ships were already damaged, their formations broken. Alien crews panicked, their voices shrill over comms. General Voxar's gravel-deep voice thundered across channels. "Captain Morrison, what do we do?" Morrison stared at the swarm of enemies. His jaw clenched. His voice came out low, steady, unyielding. We fight like Deathworlders." Holding the line. The humans and allied ships reformed, not in neat ranks, but in scattered hunting packs. "Split into cells of 3, Morrison ordered. "Never stay still, never give them a pattern to follow, bleed them one bite at a time." Stone took a strike group, diving into the debris of shattered cruisers, turning wreckage into cover. Martinez rerouted Defiance's failing shields, stacking raw power into forward armor plating. "It won't last long," she warned, "but it'll hit like a battering ram." Voxar's massive battleship smashed into the Zahirian line like a meteor. trading brutal blows, shrugging off fire that would have killed lesser ships. Walsh unleashed the virus again. Earth's chaos filled the Zahirian network, this time with more. Recordings of avalanches, tornadoes, tsunamis, screaming animals. The enemy fleet staggered under the storm of impossible data, but there were too many. Desperate ingenuity. "Captain," Turner shouted over the din, "we can't win a straight fight, not with these numbers." Morrison's eyes burned with determination. "Then we don't fight straight, we fight dirty." He jabbed at the star chart. "There, the Velith system's second gas giant. It's got rings thick with debris and electromagnetic storms. We drag the battle into there, make the environment our weapon." Kaithra's crystalline glow flickered nervously. "That's suicide. The storms will tear us apart." "Not if we adapt faster," Morrison said grimly. "That's what humans do." Into the storm. The Allied fleet dove toward the gas giant. Behind them, Zahirian ships pursued in perfect, deadly lines. As they plunged into the swirling rings, the battle turned nightmarish. Chunks of ice and rock, some miles across, whirled in chaotic orbits. Lightning arced across magnetic fields, turning space into a storm of fire. Council crews screamed over comms. "Our sensors are blind, our formations." "Forget formations," Morrison barked. "Use your instincts, follow your gut, trust chaos." The humans thrived where the Council faltered. On Earth, storms had been their cradle. Disaster had been their teacher. This was familiar. Stone's strike group slingshotted debris into pursuing cruisers, turning asteroids into weapons. Martinez rerouted plasma conduits to vent superheated gas as a smokescreen, blinding Zahirian sensors. Turner improvised medical stations aboard crippled ships, keeping panicked alien crews alive with earthborn grit. And Walsh filled the enemy network with the ultimate broadcast, the sound of human laughter, mocking, wild, fearless. Breaking the machine. Inside the Zahirian flagship, Admiral Zethal seethed. His implants flared with static. His officers twitched, their minds screaming under the torrent of alien sound. "This data," one officer gasped. "It makes no sense, it has no order, we cannot adapt." Zethal slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Then force it, we are evolution, we are inevitability." But across the fleet, precision broke down. Zahirian ships collided with debris they couldn't predict. Perfect formations shattered in the storm. For the first time, they faced an enemy not weaker, not orderly, but wild. And it terrified them. The sacrifice. Still, the humans and Council were bleeding. Dozens of ships gone, thousands dead. The Defiance itself groaned under repeated strikes. "Shields gone," Martinez shouted. "Hull integrity down to 40%. Morrison knew they needed more. Something big, something insane. "Martinez," he said quietly, "the transport prototype, is it ready?" Her eyes widened. "You can't be serious." "Do it." Minutes later, a small Council transport, stripped and rigged by Martinez, plunged straight toward the largest Zahirian battleship. Its hull glowed with overheating engines. At the last moment, the human crew ejected in pods. The transport rammed the battleship's reactor. The explosion lit the gas giant's rings like a newborn star. Half the Zahirian fleet reeled under the shockwave. Several ships disintegrated. Others lost power, tumbling helplessly. On Allied channels, stunned silence gave way to cheers. For the first time in millennia, the Zahirians bled hard. The counter-strike. But victory came at a price. The Zahirians adapted, not to chaos itself, but to the humans' courage. Their ships reformed, not perfect, but dangerous still. "Captain," Walsh whispered, "they're learning, they're starting to fight like us." Morrison's stomach sank. If the Zahirians truly copied human unpredictability, the galaxy was doomed. "Then we stay one step ahead," he said. His voice was iron. "They imitate, we innovate." The War Council chamber on Velith Prime was silent. The tactical display glowed with crimson markers. Fleet after fleet of Zahirian ships were converging. Hundreds of them, perhaps thousands. Ambassador Kaithra's crystalline glow flickered faintly. "If these signals are accurate," she whispered, "then everything we've done so far is meaningless. We will be drowned." General Voxar's rocky fists clenched hard enough to crack the crystal desk. "Then let us die fighting." "No," Morrison said firmly. His voice was quiet but unshakable. We're not going to die, we're going to strike back. The aliens turned toward him in disbelief. Strike back, Caithra repeated. Captain, their fleets outnumber us 100-1. Then we don't fight fleets, Morrison said. We fight their supply, their command, their nerves. Stone leaned over the display, grinning wolfishly. Guerrilla war in their space. The council erupted with horrified protests. Impossible, suicidal. No ship could survive a raid into Zahirian territory. But Voxar's deep rumble silenced them. The humans are right. The Zahirians are machines of order. Machines break when struck in the right place. Morrison pointed to the stars. If we wait here, we lose everything. If we go there into their home, we buy hope. The plan. Walsh briefed the room, her voice trembling with both fear and resolve. Their soldiers are linked through implants to a command nexus. That nexus stores everything they learn. It's how they adapt so fast. But if we corrupt it directly, their entire military collapses into chaos. Caithra's crystalline body dimmed. You would attack their central mind. Yes, Morrison said, right in the heart of their empire. Martinez outlined the modifications. Stealth plating of crude alloys, heat-dampening baffles, decoy drones that mimicked civilian wreckage. Nothing elegant, nothing predictable. It's ugly, she admitted, but ugly is what we need. Turner added grimly, if we succeed, the Zahirian war machine breaks. If we fail, they'll dissect us alive. The room was silent, then Voxar slammed his massive fist down. I volunteer my ships. Caithra drew a trembling breath. So do I. One by one, alien delegates spoke up. Fear warred with desperation. In the end, survival won. The council voted. The operation was approved. Departure. The Defiance led a small, ragged fleet of 20 ships. Half council, half human-modified, all volunteers. As they prepared to jump, Morrison addressed them across open comms. His voice carried weight, raw and steady. We're heading into the lion's den, into the jaws of the enemy. Some of you won't come back, but if we succeed, our children will see another sunrise. That's worth the risk. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light space. Earth's children led the way. The edge of Zafirian space. The Zahirian border worlds glowed with artificial perfection. Their skis were controlled. Their cities were identical, built in flawless symmetry. The human-alien fleet emerged in the shadow of a shattered moon, cloaked by debris. Stone stared at the perfect cities on the tactical display. Creepy, he muttered, like someone copied and pasted the same world 100 times. Turner shook his head. No wonder they can't handle chaos. They've erased it from their lives. Walsh whispered, until now. The fleet moved like shadows, slipping past patrols, hiding in asteroid fields, leaving false sensor echoes in their wake. First blood. Their first target was a supply depot orbiting a barren world. Hundreds of fuel tanks, ammunition caches, and data relays. The Zahirians had guarded it with precision patrols, confident no one would ever dare strike so deep. They were wrong. Morrison's orders were sharp, simple. Hit fast, hit hard, leave nothing. Martinez's jury-rigged drones drew the patrols away, mimicking crippled freighters. When the guards pursued, Voxar's ships smashed them from ambush. The Defiance and its allies dove on the depot, guns blazing. Kinetic rounds tore into tanks. Explosions cascaded across the structure like fire on dry grass. Within minutes, the depot was gone. Alien crews cheered. For the first time, they had struck the Empire in its own heart. But Morrison's voice cut through the euphoria. Don't celebrate yet. That was just the beginning. They'll come hunting now. The retaliation. He was right. Within hours, Zahirian patrols swarmed the region. Their ships moved in perfect hunting grids, sweeping space with cold efficiency. The Allied fleet darted between them, laying mines, using asteroids as cover, turning every encounter into a trap. One patrol was lured into a collapsing moon's gravity well. Another was ambushed inside a magnetic storm. A third was hacked and fed false coordinates, chasing ghosts until its reactors burned out. Every battle was brutal, every victory cost blood. But the Zahirians were bleeding too, for the first time in their history. Deeper into the dark. At last they reached their true target, the Zafirian nexus world. It hung in space like a jewel of steel and glass, wrapped in defense grids, bristling with towers that glowed with data. "That's it," Walsh whispered, awe and terror in her voice. "The central node, every soldier, every fleet connected through there." "Looks like a giant brain," Martinez muttered. "Let's see what happens when it gets a migraine." But the sight chilled even Morrison. This was no mere planet. It was a machine world, an entire sphere devoted to control. Stone gave a low whistle. "Captain, I'm not gonna lie, that place looks impossible." Morrison's jaw tightened. "Good, that means they won't expect us to try." The plan of madness. They would split into 3 teams. Voxar's group would draw the bulk of Zahirian defenses away with a frontal assault. Martinez and Stone would disable external defense grids with sabotage drones. Morrison, Walsh, and Turner would infiltrate the Nexus core itself and upload the virus. Kathra stood before Morrison before the mission began. Her crystalline body glowed faintly. "You are risking everything," she said. "Why, your species could hide, wait, survive in your death world." Morrison met her gaze. His voice was quiet, raw. "Because you asked for help, and on Earth when someone asks, you answer, no matter the cost." Kathra touched his arm lightly, her crystalline fingers trembling. "Then may the stars guard you, Deathworlder." The infiltration. The Defiance slipped beneath the grid's fire, while Voxar's fleet roared into the fray. Stone's strike teams launched drones that overloaded defense towers, blowing holes in the Zahirian shield. Inside the Nexus, Morrison's team fought through corridors of steel and light. Zahirian soldiers surged at them, implants flickering with static from Walsh's virus. Turner's rifle barked. Walsh's hands flew across her pad, throwing false signals into enemy sensors. Morrison led from the front, every step forward a defiance of inevitability. At last they reached the core chamber. A towering crystal node pulsed with data, the beating heart of the Zahirian war machine. Walsh's hands shook as she connected the virus. "Once I start this, there's no going back. The entire Empire will feel it." "Do it," Morrison said. The Nexus core screamed. The crystalline chamber pulsed with violent light as Walsh's virus tore into the Zahirian command mind. Lightning arced across conduits. Holographic streams of data fractured into static. Walsh coughed, smoke curling from her console. "Captain, it's resisting. It's trying to rewrite the virus." "Keep feeding it," Morrison barked, his voice cut through the storm. "Give it more chaos." Walsh's hands flew over controls, every keystroke hurling another shard of Earth into the machine mind. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, the cacophony of a world that never rested. The core convulsed. Across the Empire, Zahirian fleets faltered. Soldiers screamed as their implants misfired, pumping nonsense into their minds. Ships turned on allies. Entire squadrons froze, caught between contradictory orders. For the first time, the perfect machine broke. The Empire cracks. Reports flooded in across comms. Enemy cruisers are colliding. Admiral Zethal's fleet is firing on itself. Whole regiments are catatonic, their implants are fried. On the Defiance's bridge, Martinez whooped with wild laughter. "It's working, we're breaking their brains." But the victory was jagged. Even as Zahirians fell, their systems struck back. The core tried to absorb the virus, twisting chaos into something new, something dangerous. Turner grabbed Walsh as sparks exploded around them. "Kelly, shut it down before it kills you." "No," she hissed through clenched teeth. "Not until it sticks." Her face was pale, sweat streaming, but her eyes burned with defiance. She wasn't just fighting machines. She was fighting fate. The price of chaos. Outside, the battle raged. Voxar's fleet fought like predators, alien crews learning to abandon their perfect formations and embrace chaos. They rammed, feinted, scattered, unthinkable tactics a week ago. Stone's strike group tore through defenses, planting mines in reactor vents, firing blind but brutal barrages. But the cost was staggering. Every victory bled lives, every ambush left ships crippled. Alien voices screamed over comms, cut off in bursts of static. On the Defiance, Martinez shouted, "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, life support failing." Morrison gritted his teeth. The fleet was dying even as it won, but retreat was impossible. This was the knife's edge, win here or lose everything. The machine fights back. The Nexus core blazed with sudden clarity. Walsh froze, eyes wide in horror. "Captain, it's adapting. It's learning from the virus." The chamber darkened. A low, mechanical voice filled the air, cold and alien. Chaos assimilated, error becomes weapon. Data streams shifted. The core began broadcasting chaos back into the fleet, but weaponized. False sensor readings, hallucinations, phantom targets. Council ships turned their guns on each other. Morrison cursed, "They're using our trick against us." Turner fired his rifle into conduits, desperate to disrupt the system. Sparks rained down, but the core kept poolsing, stronger, darker. Walsh slammed her hands against controls. "No, we can beat it. Chaos isn't just noise. Chaos is choice, unpredictability. We have to teach it that." Morrison's gaze locked on her. He understood. "Do it. Show it what it can't control." Deathworld lessons. Walsh began uploading not just disasters, but human stories. Footage of soldiers refusing orders to save comrades. Children laughing in bomb shelters. A medic patching an enemy's wounds. Survivors rebuilding after earthquakes, hurricanes, firestorms. The core convulsed, flickering violently. It could process destruction, it could mimic disasters, but compassion, self-sacrifice, the will to endure even when logic said surrender. That was beyond its programming. Alien screams echoed as the network faltered. Zahirian soldiers dropped weapons, clutching their heads as contradictory impulses tore them apart. Walsh slumped forward, barely conscious. Turner caught her, holding her upright. "It's working," she whispered. "They can't adapt to hope." The shattered mind. The Nexus core split with a thunderous crack. Shards of crystal flew as the machine mind collapsed inward. Light poured through fractures. The entire chamber shook as systems cascaded into overload. On Zahirian ships across the Empire, implants fried. Crews convulsed, then went still. Fleet after fleet went silent, adrift in space. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was no longer a single mind. It was fragments, broken, screaming. On the Defiance's bridge, Martinez shouted, "They're collapsing. Whole armadas are going dark." Voxar's voice rumbled with awe. "The impossible has been done." But Morrison's gut twisted. Victories this big never came without a price. The price arrives. The shattered core flared one last time. "Captain," Walsh gasped, "it's triggering a failsafe, a cascade reaction. The entire Nexus world, it's going critical." The chamber shook like a dying beast. Fire burst through conduits. Sirens wailed in alien tones. Turner yelled, "If this place blows, it'll take half the fleet with it." Morrison's decision was instant. "All units pull back now." They ran, sprinting through collapsing corridors, Zahirian soldiers writhing in confusion around them. Explosions rocked the halls. The Defiance's crew barely reached their ship as the docking bay tore apart. Engines roared as they launched into space. Behind them, the Nexus world blazed with fire. A Pyrrhic victory. The explosion was like a second sun. Half the Zahirian Empire's fleets went dark in an instant. Command collapsed. Chaos reigned. But so did destruction. Several Council ships too close to the blast were vaporized. Voxar's flagship barely escaped, scarred and broken. On the Defiance, alarms blared. Martinez screamed from engineering, "Engines fried, shields gone, we won't survive another hit." Morrison stared at the burning world behind them, jaw tight. "We did it, we broke their mind." Walsh stirred weakly, whispering, "But not their will. The ones left will come, and they'll come angry." She was right. Across the tactical display, scattered Zahirian fleets were already converging. Disorganized, furious, but still massive. The bridge of the Defiance was silent. Beyond the stars lay the truth, the real core of the Zahirian Empire. What they had destroyed was only a node. The machine mind's true heart still pulsed deeper in enemy space, hidden, untouchable. Ambassador Cathra stood with them, her crystalline glow dim. "If this is true, then everything we've done has only wounded them." General Voxar's rocky form loomed in the holofeed, battered but unbroken. "Then we strike the heart. We end this war where it began." Morrison's jaw tightened. "Agreed, we've bloodied the beast. Now we cut out its brain." The path to doom. The fleet was in ruins. Of the 20 ships that had followed them into Zahirian space, less than half remained. Hulls were cracked, engines crippled, crews exhausted. Still, not a single captain turned back. They had seen what humanity could do, and they would follow them into the fire. Walsh's voice was faint but steady. "I've triangulated the signals. The true core lies here." She marked a point deep in Zahirian territory, surrounded by fleets and fortresses. Martinez whistled. "That's not a stronghold, that's hell itself." Morrison gave a thin smile. "Good, that means they won't expect us to survive it." The final journey. Days bled together as they limped across enemy space. They struck depots and patrols along the way, leaving fire and confusion in their wake. Turner patched the wounded with dwindling supplies, his hands steady even as his eyes betrayed exhaustion. "Every life we save," he muttered, "is another nail in their coffin." Stone drilled what was left of the strike groups. "No clean fights," he told them. "No heroics. We hit fast, we hit dirty, and we get out alive." Walsh kept whispering to the stars, refining the virus, shaping it like a blade. "They learned from our chaos. Now we give them something no machine can survive." And Morrison carried the weight of them all, staring out at the endless void, knowing every order he gave might be his crew's last. The core revealed. At last they reached it. The Zahirian core world filled the void, not a planet, not a station, but something between. A vast artificial sphere, black and angular, veins of red light pulsing like arteries. It radiated power and cold malice. Walsh's voice trembled. "That's not just a machine, that's alive." Kathra whispered, her crystalline body dim with dread. "It is the soul of their empire." The core spoke. A voice like thunder rolled across every frequency. "Children of chaos, you cannot destroy order, you cannot kill inevitability." Morrison's reply was calm, sharp, and defiant. "Watch us." The assault. The fleet charged. Voxar's battleship led the frontal strike, smashing through defensive grids like a hammer. Alien crews screamed war cries, their fear burned away by desperation. Stone's strike teams darted through gaps, planting mines, firing reckless salvos, turning debris into weapons. The Defiance dove into the storm, Martinez wringing every ounce of power from failing engines. Sparks flew as consoles blew, alarms shrieked, but the ship pressed on. The Zahirians fought back with everything they had. Ships poured from the core like wasps from a nest. Perfect formations turned to swarms, overwhelming, merciless. But the humans and their allies fought like predators from a death world. They rammed, they feinted, they set traps. They bled, but they made the enemy bleed more. In the heart, Morrison's team boarded the core itself. The corridors were endless steel, pulsing with data. Zahirian soldiers swarmed, implants flickering, faces twisted by confusion. Turner fired until his rifle clicked dry, then drew a blade. "Come on, you bastards." Walsh hacked doors mid-run, sending enemies into sealed chambers filled with venting plasma. Stone cut through defenders like a storm, his voice cold. No mercy, no hesitation. At last, they reached the central chamber. A colossal crystalline brain pulsed at its center, veins of red light webbing across its surface. Walsh staggered forward, clutching her device. "If I upload here, it'll reach every soldier, every fleet. It'll break them forever." The core's voice filled the chamber. "Chaos is noise. Noise becomes silence. Order endures." Morrison stepped forward, rifle raised. His voice was steady. "On Earth, order never endures. Storms always come back." The final choice. Walsh hesitated. "Captain, if I push this virus, it'll overload. The feedback will fry everything within miles. We won't survive." The chamber went still. Stone's jaw tightened. "Then we finish the job." Turner's face was pale but resolute. "We came knowing we might not return." Martinez's voice crackled over comms from the Defiance. "Jake, if you do this, you'll never make it out, but if you don't, the galaxy burns." Morrison looked at his crew, exhausted, broken, unyielding. Then he smiled. "Sometimes the smallest force makes the biggest difference." The end of the machine. Walsh pressed the command. The core screamed. Light blazed through the chamber, white-hot, blinding. The virus poured into its veins, not just storms, not just disasters, but humanity itself. The sound of laughter, the cries of newborns, the songs of soldiers marching home, the voices of people who refused to die. The core convulsed. its perfect order collapsing under the weight of unpredictability, of compassion, of will. Across the Empire, Zahirian fleets shattered. Soldiers dropped as implants burned out. Command disintegrated. The machine mind tore itself apart. The core began to collapse. The last stand. Captain, Martinez's voice crackled in their ears. The whole structure's going, you have to get out now. But Morrison shook his head. Too late, we're too deep. He turned to his crew. It's been an honor. Walsh's hands trembled on her console, her eyes wet but fierce. If humanity's remembered, let it be for this. Turner gave a weary grin. Not bad for a bunch of Deathworlders. Stone raised his weapon one last time. Let's make it count. The chamber lit with fire. The core collapsed inward. Aftermath. Far away on Velith Prime, the council chambers shook as comms lit with impossible news. The Zahirian fleets are gone. Their worlds are silent. The war is over. Ambassador Caithra stared at the reports, her crystalline body glowing brighter than ever. Tears, crystalline droplets, fell from her eyes. They did it, she whispered. The humans did it. General Voxar stood tall, his rocky frame unshaken, though his voice rumbled with grief. At the cost of themselves, they fought like no species I have ever seen, and they saved us all. The legacy of chaos. Weeks later, when the fires cooled, search teams scoured the wreckage of the Zahirian core. They found no trace of Morrison or his crew, only fragments of human uniforms, scorched and torn. But their message endured. The galaxy spoke of humanity not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as saviors. The Council honored them with a new name. The Deathworlders. To some it sounded like a curse, to others a warning. But to those who had stood on the brink of extinction, it was hope. Because when the galaxy had cried for help into the endless dark, the Deathworld answered,